Hello and welcome to Passing Priority. My name is Mike and today I have a deck built around a new legend from Modern Horizons 2 that introduces a powerful archetype into a new colour pair. Carth the Lion is a 4-mana legendary human warrior costing 2, a black and a green. And when Carth enters the battlefield, or when a Planeswalker we control dies, we look at the top 7 cards of our library, and we may reveal a Planeswalker from among those cards and add it to our hand. Then the rest go onto the bottom of the library in any order. Carth also has a static ability that makes all our Planeswalkers' activated abilities cost an additional loyalty to activate. This effectively means that if we want to activate a Planeswalker's +1 ability, like an Ob Nixilis Reignited, we will actually increase the number of loyalty counters on it by 2. But if next turn we want to activate its ultimate for -8, we can, as Carth will turn that ability into a -7 instead. Carth the Lion pushes us into playing Planeswalkers and makes keeping them alive and reaching their ultimates a lot more achievable. So our deck is packed full of Planeswalkers and ways to keep them around until we outvalue our opponents. We won't be able to do much without building up our resources, so let's look at our ramp we've included in our deck. With Carth being green, we know that we have access to some of the best ramp we can get. Rampant Growth, Cultivate and Kadama's Reach are cheap and quick ways to get us ahead on lands. And Myriad Landscape and Blighted Woodlands to our mana base will provide us ramp without taking up a card slot away from our main game plan. Farhaven Elf will fetch us a basic land onto the battlefield when it enters, and then stick around to be a blocker for our Planeswalkers. And Leyline Prowler is a mana dork that can tap to add mana of any colour, but is a death touch blocker to threaten our opponent's creatures. And it wouldn't be a commander deck without Sol Ring. We do have some Planeswalkers that will help us with ramp, but many of our Planeswalkers fill many roles in our deck, and we will cover them in detail later on in the video. Until then, let's move on to keeping our hand full of cards. Let's start with Oath of Nissa, a 1-mana enchantment that on entering the battlefield has us look at the top 3 cards of our library. We can then reveal a creature, land or Planeswalker from among them and add it to our hand. This is a mini version of our commander's effect. Unlike our commander, there is an additional static ability that fixes our mana for casting our Planeswalkers. We have Vivian's Grizzly, a 3-mana 2/3 bear spirit with an activate ability. Spending 4 mana has us looking at the top card of our library, and if it's a creature or Planeswalker, we can reveal it and add it to our hand. If we don't put it into our hand, it will go onto the bottom of our library. This is a repeatable mana sink that we can use as the game progresses. Read the Bones and Night's Whispers are 2 low-cost spells that can help keep our hands filled. And Wall of Blossom and Carven Caryatid are 2 low-cost creatures that replace themselves, but are good blockers to keep our Planeswalkers around. Runic Armosaur is a big butt to block any of our Planeswalkers, but each time an opponent activates a non-mana ability of a creature or land, we draw a card. Cheville, Bane of Monsters, is a good death touch blocker. But on our upkeep, if there are no bounty counters in play, we may put a bounty counter on a target creature or Planeswalker. Then when any permanent our opponents control with a bounty counter on it dies, we gain 3 life and draw a card. We can use this ability to try and focus our opponents to look at a bigger threat than our board, or just place the counter on the scariest thing our opponents control, and someone else will likely want it gone as well. Our deck has a small +1/+1 counters sub-theme, so we've included Minus Automaton and Etched Oracle. Both can turn +1/+1 counters into additional cards. And Lifeblood Hydra will be a good blocker that on death will give us cards equal to its power. And to build up a lot of counters, we've included Forgotten Ancient, which will get a +1/+1 counter each time any player plays a spell. And then on our upkeep, we may move any number of counters from Forgotten Ancient to any other creature. With Planeswalkers and +1/+1 counters in our deck, Proliferate is an effect that we want to trigger as much as we can. Karn's Bastion is a land that we can pay 4 and tap it, effectively costing 5 mana, to proliferate. Not the best rate, but being a repeatable effect that sits in our mana base has a very low drawback for us. Planewide Celebration is a sorcery for 5 and 2 green, and when we cast it we will choose 4 effects from among: create a 2/2 creature, return a permanent card from our graveyard to our hand, gain 4 life, and proliferate. We will likely want to use the proliferate ability 4 times, but each mode is useful at different points of the game. Urban Daggertooth is a 4/3 dinosaur with vigilance, making it a great attacker that we can also use to block, but any time it takes damage, we proliferate. And our last proliferator is Evolution Sage, proliferating each time we have a land enter our battlefield. We've already talked about protecting our Planeswalkers by using small value creatures. We have some more powerful ways to do that. Oath of Liliana is an enchantment that on entering the battlefield will have each opponent sacrificing a creature. Then on each end step, if we had a Planeswalker enter the battlefield this turn, we create a 2/2 zombie. Sandworm Convergence will prevent any flying creature from attacking us or our Planeswalkers. And at the beginning of our end step, we create a 5/5 worm token, a great blocker to stop any ground creatures our enchantment doesn't deal with. And if we are talking about making tokens, one of the best creatures for flooding a board is Avenger of Zendikar, who on entering the battlefield will make a 0/1 plant token for each land we control. And as long as Avenger stays out, each of our plants will get a +1/+1 counter each time we have a land enter the battlefield. Lastly, reducing the damage we take to 0 is a great way of protecting our Planeswalkers. Obscuring Haze is a 3-mana instant that prevents all damage our opponent's creatures would deal. However, if Carth is on the battlefield, we can cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Arachnogenesis could be an even better fog though, preventing all the damage but leaving us with a swarm of spiders equal to the number of creatures that attacked us. And possibly beating that is a repeatable fog that synergizes with our +1/+1 counters sub-theme. Spikeweaver enters the battlefield with 3 counters. Its first ability can have us move one of its counters to another creature, but we want to keep as many counters on Spikeweaver as possible, because we can pay 1 and remove a counter to have all creatures deal no combat damage. Sometimes our Planeswalkers will end up in the graveyard, hopefully from activating their ultimates, but also likely that we may not be able to protect all of them, so we have some ways of getting them back. Eternal Witness on entering the battlefield will return any card from our graveyard to our hand, and Golgari Finebroker will do the same but only for permanent cards. If we know we're about to lose one of our important Planeswalkers, we can enchant them with Kaya's Ghost form. Then when it dies or is exiled, we can return it to the battlefield. This is great as it also resets its loyalty counters. We can pay black and X for Confront the Past, and we will most times choose the first option, which will return a Planeswalker with mana value X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And we have Sturev, Devkaran Lich. Whenever this 5-power trampling creature does combat damage to an opponent, it will allow us to return a creature or Planeswalker from our graveyard to our hand. Its only condition is that it didn't end up there this combat, but for our Planeswalkers, this is a very unlikely thing to happen. Before we finally look at the Planeswalkers we're running, let's look at some removal. Beast Within is our most universal answer, getting rid of any permanent at the cost of giving its owner a 3/3 beast. This may be more of a downside in this deck than others, as this is giving them a way to attack our walkers. Reclamation Sage can destroy any artifact or enchantment on entering the battlefield. Deathsprout destroys a creature, but we will get the upside of searching our library for a basic land and putting it onto the battlefield. Noxious Gearhulk is a large 5/4 body that enters the battlefield and can destroy another creature. We will also gain a bit of life in the process. Settle the Score offers some great synergy with our deck. It exiles a target creature, but we also get to put 2 loyalty counters on a Planeswalker we control. And Scavenging Ooze will help deal with graveyard decks that are getting out of hand by slowly eating away at any important cards that end up there. We also have 3 board wipes in the deck. Deadly Tempest will destroy all creatures, and drain each player for the amount of creatures they had. Necromantic Selection, after we have destroyed all the creatures, will allow us to return one creature destroyed this way back to the battlefield under our control. This is a great way to have our commander dodge the removal and get his end of the battlefield trigger again. And Azuri's Predation is not a perfect board wipe, as it creates 4/4 beasts that fight our opponent's creatures, meaning it will only destroy creatures with toughness 4 or less, but this should hopefully leave us with some beasts to help block anything that survived. With the exception of the remainder of our mana base, this is all the non-Planeswalker cards in the deck, so it's time to look at them. We have 20 Planeswalkers in this deck, meaning that we should get at least one Planeswalker from our commander's ability more often than nothing. Freyalise, Lanoir's Fury, is our first Planeswalker we will look at. She has 3 abilities. Her +2 makes a 1/1 elf that taps to make mana. Her -2 will destroy an artifact or enchantment. And her ultimate of -6 will draw us cards for each green creature we control. All 3 of them are powerful abilities, as Freyalise helps with ramp, removal and card draw, but we have added her mostly for her ramp and token making. Garruk Wildspeaker helps us with our mana ramp as well, as his +1 will untap 2 of our lands. His -1 will create a 3/3 beast blocker, and his ultimate of -4 will give an overrun of +3/+3 and trample to all of our creatures. With more of our token makers coming up, this ultimate can turn into a win condition very easily, but he is mainly here to support us with ramp. Nissa Worldwaker has 2 abilities that increase her loyalty. Her first +1 will turn one of our lands into a 4/4 creature with trample, a risky choice to make our mana base vulnerable to removal, but this can be useful after a board wipe or when we desperately need a blocker. But her other +1 of untapping 4 forests is going to be her main ability we use. Her ultimate of -7 allows us to fetch any number of basic lands from our deck to the battlefield and turn them into 4/4 creatures. Now that they are creatures, we cannot use them immediately for mana, but we can see that combining our Planeswalkers ultimates like this and Garruk's can make some powerful board states very quickly. Nissa Vital Force's ultimate can be activated the turn we play her if our commander is out, giving us an emblem that will draw us a card each time we have our land enter the battlefield. Her other abilities can return a permanent card from our graveyard to our hand or animate one of our lands. Both useful effects, but unless we have already built up protection, the instant ultimate is likely going to be what we use her for. Ob Nixilis Reignited is going to help us with drawing cards, as his +1 will have us draw a card and lose a life, but his -3 is also creature removal if we need it. And it's a shame that his ultimate only targets a single player, but if we can give this to the wheel deck or any deck that wants to draw a lot of cards, it will seriously slow them down, because they will get an emblem that will drain them for 2 life anytime any player draws a card. Another Ob Nixilis that cares about drawing cards is Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted. This one punishes our opponents for their card draw, but also has some removal that destroys a creature and gives the destroyed creature's controller 2 cards. We will use this to remove a threat an opponent has, or on one of our low impact tokens to draw us 2 cards. We have touched on a couple of +1/+1 counters cards in this deck, and we have a few Planeswalkers that support that theme a little more. Jiang Yangu, Wildcrafter, turns any creature we control with a +1/+1 counter on it into a mana dork, and his -1 ability will add a +1/+1 counter to any creature. Our commander will make this a free ability, meaning that each turn we can turn any of our creatures or tokens into mana dorks at no cost. Vraska, Regal Gorgon, will also add a +1/+1 counter to any creature using her +2 ability, also granting that creature menace for the turn. And her -3 is also creature removal. Her ultimate of -10 would likely be more useful in a deck focused around creatures, but giving our board a +1/+1 counter for each creature in our graveyards can be a big power boost even if we only have 4 or 5 creatures in the graveyard. Arlen, Voice of the Pack's -2 ability can make a 2/2 wolf, which her static ability will add a +1/+1 counter to, her main purpose being a token engine to protect our Planeswalkers. Garruk Cursed Huntsman has no loyalty abilities that naturally increase his loyalty, but his 0 loyalty ability makes 2/2 wolf that on death increases the loyalty of each Garruk Planeswalker we have. Our commander will actually make this ability a +1, meaning that we can get him to his ultimate of -6 very easily, and that ultimate will create an emblem that gives all our creatures +3/+3 and trample. He also has a -3 that destroys a creature and draws us a card. Another Garruk we have is Garruk Primal Hunter, whose +1 makes us a 3/3 beast. His -3 will draw us cards based on the greatest power among creatures we control, and his ultimate of -6 will make a worm army equal to the amount of lands we control. Garruk Unleashed is our final Garruk. His -2 makes us a 3/3 beast. Then, if an opponent controls more creatures than us, we get to add a loyalty counter to him. This, with our commander's ability, can make this a free ability to activate. His +1 will pump a creature if we need to get in for damage, and while his ultimate to gain an emblem that will tutor a creature from our deck to the battlefield isn't too powerful in this deck, we do have some value enter the battlefield creatures we may want to fetch when we need them. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, is one of our cheaper Planeswalkers, and her +1 makes us a plant blocker. Her -2 can pump our board with +1/+1 counters. And her ultimate will gain us life and draw us cards equal to the amount of lands we have. Our last Obnixilis of the Black Oath, we are running mostly for his -2 ability. Unlike some of our other token generators, this makes a large 5/5 flying demon at the cost of 2 life to us. His +2 will provide us some life gain if we are starting to get low, and his ultimate emblem of -8 will allow us to trade in our tokens for card draw. Tevesh Zat, Doom of Fools, is here for his token creation and card draw. His +2 being able to make us 2 small tokens to defend himself, and his +1 being able to turn those tokens into card draw. His ultimate is not necessarily our main focus, but stealing all the commanders will interrupt a lot of game plans. Because of this, Tevesh Zat is likely to be a big target for some decks. Vivian, Monster's Advocate, makes us a beast with her +1 ability, and lets us choose from among Vigilance, Reach or Trample as to what ability it has, giving us a lot of flexibility depending on the board state we are facing. Her -2 can provide us some value when we need it. Just casting our commander after activating this ability will allow us to choose from over half our creatures in our deck and put 1 into play. Vraska, Relic Seeker, will create us a 2/2 blocker for +2 loyalty, and her -3 can destroy most permanent types. We will also get a treasure for doing so, but her ultimate of -10 will set a player's life total to 1. A great way to start closing out the game, and since her tokens have menace, this may just be a kill on a player. Vraska, Swarm Eminence, will make a 1/1 assassin with Death Touch that can also destroy any Planeswalker our opponents control on dealing damage to them. Finally, our last 2 Planeswalkers are more of win conditions than any other value. Surin Markov can set any player's life to 10 using his -3 ability, and if our commander is out, we can activate this twice before Surin dies. His other 2 abilities are both useful to start chipping away at our opponents, but being able to surprise drop him and immediately set someone to 10 life is a powerful effect. Similarly, Vraska the Unseen is here mostly for her ultimate ability. Her +1 does help protect her, and her -3 can deal with any permanent, but the -7, which with our commander can be reached in 1 turn, will create 3 tokens that whenever they deal combat damage to a player, will have that player lose the game. And one final card to mention is the Elder Spell. We will likely need to destroy our Planeswalkers to use this, but being able to quickly change the maths our opponents will have been doing on how long to get a particular Planeswalker to ultimate can help us surprise a win from nowhere. And there we have it, a Carth the Lion Super Friends or Planeswalker deck. A link to the deck list can be found in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'm excited to say that we're almost at 50 subscribers, and I'm happy to see how much we have grown and to know people are enjoying the content we are putting out. So what would you like to see for us to celebrate this? Leave any suggestions in the comments below, and hopefully we can do something fun very soon. Once again, thank you for listening, and goodbye for now.